Hey everybody, Chris here, and I wanted to bring you my review of College Football 25. I'm a little bit late to the game with this, no pun intended, given that it's been out for a couple of weeks, but I wanted to take my time getting into it, explore as many of the modes as I can, and actually play through the bulk of a season to see how I feel about the gameplay and all of that. So obviously, being an East Carolina University alum, I had to do my Dynasty League with ECU. So far, it's been highly enjoyable and a lot of fun, and I would say that even though there are times where the difficulty to me gets a little bit crazy, especially given that I'm playing on varsity, which is not the easiest, but one up from the easiest. I think there are 4 levels: All-American and then Heisman, I think, is the top one. I've been surprised sometimes at how difficult this game can be. It seems like, of course, toward the end of games, at different points, depending on the skill level of the team you're playing, they find miraculous ways to get a deep throw, a Hail Mary for a touchdown to make it much more interesting than it probably would be in real life. But anyway, I've had a lot of fun with it. I, at this point, have made it to the college football playoff, which is great. I'm 2 games into that, trying to take my team to the national championship, but it has been a lot of fun to jump back into college football in video game form. However, I don't think the game is perfect, but let me talk first about what I like. I think Dynasty is great, with the exception of when you're building your team and you're a coach and you're having to make decisions about scouting and recruiting and all that. The scouting and recruiting piece is at times very confusing, right? I've heard and maybe sort of perceived that maybe there's a way to auto-recruit. I need to research that more. I haven't figured out how to just let the game do that so I don't have to worry about that piece of it and just focus on the games. Like, you have to spend points you earn on things like looking at a player's social media or inviting them to campus for a tour to try and have demonstrated interest there. But overall, playing through your real season for your team that you're excited about is a lot of fun. I think going into the playoff, I was 10-2 or something like that. So the games are pretty, depending on your skill level, which has been a while for me. And I put it on varsity so I could get more acclimated to the controls, because I think the last football game I played was Madden maybe 4 or 5 years ago. I got really burned out on that, just having to buy a new game every year, and the schemes and controls felt the same. But the Dynasty League in this, or the Dynasty Team Builder in this, is a lot of fun. It's maybe not perfect because of the recruiting piece, but it is a lot of fun. The Ultimate College Football Team mode here, where you go through a bunch of different challenges, that's actually something I would recommend you do first, especially if you're unfamiliar with football video games, because it teaches you how to set up effective pass plays, how to run the ball. It kind of works you through all of that. That piece of it, I'm about halfway through. I sort of opted to do that after the fact, because I just couldn't wait to jump into Dynasty with my alma mater and have some fun there. But the Ultimate Team Journey piece is fun, and it's nice because it's kind of bite-sized. You don't have to dedicate, however long it would be with 5-minute quarters to a full game, because when you're playing a full game against a team, it does sort of burn through your available time to just sit down and play a video game. So the chunked nature of Ultimate Team is a lot of fun. I haven't done the Road to Glory thing yet, but I did make it to the playoff with my Dynasty, so I'm not really sure what the difference is there. I'm going to get into that and see how I feel about it. So control-wise and fun-wise, I think the games are addictive enough to keep you coming back. Like, I play this every other day, if not every day, and I've done that since I got it about 2 weeks ago, or however long it's been. Really enjoyed it a lot. What I would say, though, in terms of the things that maybe could use some additional polishing here, the player models look amazing. Like, again, as a fan of ECU, as an alum, the intro they set up in the game is pretty close to how it is in real life. The stadium actually looks amazing, but if you pause it and look around, and some people put some stuff on X about this, instead of East Carolina, it says East California. Like, there are some weird little things, and everybody's wearing gold t-shirts in the stands, which really, it would be mostly purple, probably. So that's a little bit weird. I mean, there are gold out games, but that doesn't seem to be the case here. It's just a lot of the games, everybody's wearing gold, which is a weird thing. I do think the fan models don't look awesome either. Like, I kind of wish EA had maybe bought in, 20 different real people and scanned them. And if they did this, it's not showing up in the game itself. But so that they don't look as plasticky. And it's weird because the actual players look pretty close to how they look in real life for the most part, maybe 80% of the time. The fans just look like video game characters that are super generic. And at the start of every game, they're doing the same thing. The commentary from Kirk Herbstreit, Reese Davis, people like that, it's mostly pretty good, but it's always hard for me to get past the fact that I kind of understand the algorithm they're using, where they just have pre-recorded snippets referencing certain things happening in any college football game and in certain circumstances. And then they just kind of copy and paste the team you're playing in. And it does feel at times a little bit stilted, but it mostly does work. But there's probably no better way to do that, right? To make it feasible to be as part of the game. So the commentary is good. I think the overall presentation is good within the game. I just hope that they decide to go the route of doing updates to this game and maybe releasing a new version every other year or every 2 years instead of making us buy a new one every year. Because what's going to happen, to me anyway, is what happened with Madden, where I'm just going to get tired of it and it's probably going to feel unnecessarily iterative in that setup. So I would say that this is a very good re-entry into college football in the video game world, but perhaps not perfect because of, at times, some of the weird difficulty spikes, which I don't want it to be overly easy, but at times it gets to be a little bit like, really, video game, you're going to do this to me in this situation kind of thing. And I think at times the graphics and the polishing just overall could be a little bit better. Some people have complained too about the menu music, which is just kind of college band drums nonstop. It gets a little bit old, but I've sort of managed to tune that out. So I would say that if you're a college football fan, there is a lot to love here. It may not be perfect, but it's good enough. And it's good enough to keep me coming back and to keep playing it as my hype for the actual real college football season builds. So anyway, if you've got College Football 25, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. One thing, before I forget too, some people have talked about the performance on the Series X, which is what I have, versus the PS5. Some people have reported that Xbox has had crashes and things. I have not had that happen to me yet, fingers crossed. So I can't speak to that as being a problem. I can just tell you my experience, that has not been an issue, and the game runs very smoothly and looks great on my LG OLED when I'm playing it. So just my 2 cents performance-wise. But anyway, if you have the game, let me know what you think in the comments below. And as always, thanks so much for watching. Hey everybody, as soon as I finish recording and editing and getting this video ready, I realized I forgot to mention Team Builder, which is a fun component of College Football 25. So I just wanted to sort of tack that on briefly and say that that is one of the more enjoyable things. If you want to build a team, you can do it through EA's website. I built a Seinfeld-themed team called the Art Vandelay Architects because I love Seinfeld, and I thought it would be hilarious to have a field with George Costanza on it. That's been fun. I will say the EA website is a little bit wonky, though. It can be hard to get the graphics and the formatting the way you want. But it is kind of fun to do that. That piece of it is interesting, and I think maybe adds to the longevity to the game in some ways. But I doubt most people are going to be playing this to go and download fictional teams, unless their team is maybe FCS or just is not in the game at all. So I could see that being something that people come back to a certain extent. But I just wanted to add this little note about Team Builder. So again, as always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll check back in soon.